Welcome to Cannon Talk, episode 2. Thanks for tuning in, and if you're new here, welcome. You do not need a season ticket to have a valued opinion on Arsenal. You don't need to be living in London. I can give a shit if you're in Melbourne, New York, Lagos, Birmingham, Manchester, wherever. Doesn't matter. As long as you're passionate about Arsenal, that's all I care about. And I want to build this community, so what I ask you to do is to go over to the YouTube channel, make sure you check out the content. Hopefully you like, but just make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Get in touch with me. We need to build this community, people. And make sure you hit that notification bell so that all of the latest content drops directly straight to your phone and you don't miss a thing. So we're going to get into it, people. This is episode 2. We're going to discuss the Newcastle game. We're also going to discuss what the goings on off the pitch as the transfer news hots up as we get nearer to the opening of the summer transfer window. Of course, there's a new kit launch, it's Arsenal. So we'll get into that, people, as well. Settle in, let's get into it. First things first we need to get into is the Newcastle game on Sunday at the Emirates. So it's the penultimate game in the season, last home game in front of our supporters, and it was a crunch game, people. I mean, some people will say, you know what, I don't care if it's second, third, fourth, it's just second loser, third loser, fourth loser. I don't buy into that, people. I think it would have looked awful if we were to just throw this league away and end up finishing third, fourth, God forbid, outside of the Champions League places. So to me, this was vital. And I have to say, as soon as the team sheet came out and Isak wasn't playing, well, I was even more confident. If people would have seen my match preview, they would have seen that I predicted that we would win. I think that the team really owed us a performance. You know, after the last few weeks, disappointingly going out in the Champions League, and really, I mean, throwing the league away, the performances have just not been up to scratch. The form has been truly awful. On the other side, of course, Newcastle were going into this match with some confidence. They're only a couple of points behind us, so had they have won, they would have gone above us. You know, really pushing for a really, really top finish. And as we know, they've come off the back of the Carabao Cup win, somewhat to our expense, of course, as they beat us over both legs in that semi-final. Of course, they've also beat us in the league as well, and I don't believe we've scored a goal against them this season. It's just been, you know, really, really poor. I can't remember the last time we had such a poor record in a season against Newcastle. But yeah, to be fair to them, they've been quality. So, you know, whilst going into it, you know, the form would tell you all day long that Newcastle are the better team at present. I still felt confident. You know, last game of the season in front of our own fans. You know, I feel like they had to grind it out, really. And if we look at the game, first half, you know, how many times have we seen this season, unfortunately? We come out so slow, so sluggish. You know, it's really disappointing. You know, it's a home game. We should be up for it all the time in the Emirates. You know, in those first 5 minutes, we've seen it so many times in football. It's so crucial to be, you know, on top of the opposition at this point. And 9 times out of 10, if you start well, you know, you will generally do well in the match. And all too often, we just haven't done that this season. And we've ended up, you know, conceding chances, barely creating anything ourselves. And that's exactly how that first half panned out. I mean, if it wasn't for Raya and the fact that Isak wasn't playing, we'd have probably been 2-0 down. I mean, I say if it wasn't for Raya, of course, you know, at least on a couple of occasions, he caused the errors himself. He just amazingly got himself out of it with some fantastic saves, but his kicking was absolutely atrocious. There's no other way of putting it. I mean, and this has been going on a few weeks, and but you know, I'm not going to harp on too much about it because let's face it, we bought him for this, and generally his distribution has been fantastic. You know, it's generally on point, but for whatever reason over the last few weeks, you know, and he's not the only one, performances have just dropped off, and little mistakes have started to creep into the game. So, but yeah, so there were some fantastic opportunities. Bruno Gyokores was the main one, really, with a fantastic save from Raya, point blank, and then the reflexes, yet again, were just amazing. It's like, God knows how many drills he must do in training, but he must do a lot of them because, he's had a lot of those kind of saves this season, and he's just fantastic at it. He's so quick. So, yeah, but there was chances, of course, for Harvey Barnes, amongst others. Livramento, I remember, having a good chance. And, yeah, we didn't create anything, people. We just didn't. I mean, the only chance that I can remember from that first half was Thomas Partey. And surprise, surprise, it came from a corner kick. Can't create anything from open play. The ball comes in from Saka. I'm not too sure how much Partey knew about it, but it hit him on the head anyway. And Pope saves from point blank. I mean, much like I'm saying about Partey, I don't really think Pope knew much about it. It just kind of came straight at him, and he saved it. And we go in at 0-0. Yeah, and very disappointing from an Arsenal point of view. But the second half on the flip side, I mean, I wouldn't say we were amazing, don't get me wrong. It was an improved performance. We controlled the ball, but there was a significant drop-off from Newcastle. We've got to acknowledge that. There really was. I was quite surprised because, like I said at the start, there was a lot riding on this for Newcastle. I really thought they'd be up for it to try and take that second place from us. But they seemed to kind of just peter away really in the second half and didn't really create anything. I'm not saying we created an awful lot, because I really can't remember us doing that. But we did have a lot more control of the ball, and there was certainly an element of control throughout that, really. And we didn't really look under immense pressure. The one, of course, good bit of play came from Ødegaard. Fair play to him. An assist, long time coming, and he just set it up nicely for Rice. I mean, I wouldn't say, when I say an assist, it's a pass back to him and he's 25, 30 yards out. So really, it's all about Declan Rice at this point. And it's becoming his trademark, isn't it? This whip with his right foot, with pace, bend into the side of the net. Fantastic, fantastic goal. We know what a good keeper Nick Pope is, but he had no chance, people. It was a fantastic finish. And there we go again. Declan Rice, the saviour. He has been far and away the best player over the last few months, really. Fantastic. And yeah, match winner again. And, I was just so grateful for this win. It wasn't a great performance, but it was all about the result. Let's face it. We've now cemented second place, all barring a miracle in terms of goal difference turnaround. It's just not going to happen. So, yeah, we can relax going into that final day, because I'm telling you now, I would not want to be watching these games knowing that, there's 5 of us in this race, depending on how the games go. Yeah, it would have been awful. So, yeah, I'm glad that that's kind of done and dusted. And in reflection, like I said, when we look back on this, rather than looking back at individual results or individual games here and there, I don't think runners-up and the semi-final of a Champions League, can be scoffed at. That is not a bad performance. I've supported us since 1987. I've been with Graham, Rioch, Wenger, etc. And, I've seen us in 9th, 8th, scrambling for a Champions League place, etc. So, to get 3 runners-up in a row, yes, we all want to win, but we haven't all got a God-given right to win, I believe it will happen at some point. We just need to be consistent, which we clearly are, and, have a bit of luck going our way. I saw, or I heard, should I say, some of the comments that Mikel Arteta came out with after the game, and Ødegaard as well, because of course they did their customary lap of honour, if you want to call it that. Now, Arteta again mentioned injuries, and I know people are going to just jump on this and be like, stop making excuses, etc., etc. And, I don't want him to dwell on that and create this kind of almost kind of outlook from outside of the club that people think we make excuses. But, injuries are a fact. There's 38 games in a season, and I'm not being funny, you have to have your best players available for most of that time. You only have to look at all of the teams that have won the league over the last God knows how many years, and it's just a consistent fact. It is the way it is. And with that being said, of course, Timber, another one lost to minor surgery. Now, fingers crossed. I don't think this is a biggie. he's been flogged to death, hasn't he, by Arteta. And, he already came back from an ACL last season. So it's disappointing for him, but at least, it's at the end of the season now. I don't think it's going to be a significant period out, although that's yet to be confirmed. So we'll wait to hear from the club on that. But yeah, I mean, God, these surgeries this season, what is it? I mean, is it training methods or the load on the players? I mean, it's crazy. There's been Tomiyasu, there's been White, Erdegaard, Marino. I think if he had some treatment on his shoulder, he was certainly out for a period when we had him. Jesus, Havertz, Saka, Gabriel. It's just, the list goes on, man, and it's just a joke. You really couldn't predict it. You wouldn't have ever said that prior to a season, that there'd be so many people missing throughout the season. So on one hand, you just kind of think, well, we've done pretty well to maintain where we were, a consistent performance, albeit we weren't really challenging, but we were runners up. We were the best of the rest, and the semi-final, well, look at the teams that have progressed into that. So it's PSG beat us and Inter Milan. Well, they're both better than us at this point. So, it's no, I don't think there's any great shame to lose to these teams. And I'm interested to get your take now on player of the season. Now, it's yet to be announced from our point of view, so I'm just talking about an Arsenal player of the season, of course. And yeah, I'm just keen to know what you think would be, or who you think should be the player of the season. I don't think there's an awful lot of candidates. When I look at individual performances, I'm struggling, to be honest, this season to think who has actually stood out. Now, I have got a list, so I will go through them. And like I said, please get in touch. Let me know if you disagree. Let me know who you think should be player of the season. I'll narrow it down to 3. So my first would be Declan Rice. It's no surprise there. I think most people would say that, particularly the latter half of the season. He always stands up. He's always accountable. And he's really kicked on in terms of his game on the second half of the season, driving the team forward, adding goals to his game, adding free kicks, and really stepping up in those big moments to take us forward. So, he's definitely got to be up there. Next person I'm thinking, Lewis Skelly. Now, this is kind of up for debate, but the reasoning for that is the guy is phenomenal. Fucking phenomenal. To come in at 17, barely really known, and then obviously he's 18 now, at a time when, we bought in Calafiori in the summer, for a fair bit of money, who would have been expected to take that position. And of course, due to injuries, the likes of Tomiyasu, Calafiori, White, etc., he's been forced to step up and come into the team, which is a lot of pressure for a 17-year-old kid. And he's not only grasped it, he's just took the piss out of it, really. His attitude, his confidence, his arrogance, if you like, he's just been phenomenal, an absolute sensation. Really, not only in isolation doing brilliantly based on, the age just coming in, the lack of experience, but just doing a phenomenal job for the team when we needed him. And then to step it up at international level, to get called up for your country, to go into your first game with the same level of confidence and score a goal, it's frighteningly good. So I think he's got to be in that mix. I was shocked that he wasn't even mentioned in the actual Young Player of the Year awards across the country. So that was quite shocking to me. But, those awards will come, no doubt, if he carries on at this level. And so that leaves one. And controversial as it may be, I'm going to actually go back to Jurrien Timber. Now, as I say, he came off the back of an ACL injury last season. And he came in with, I remember seeing him in pre-season, and he was in America and he was phenomenal. We really thought we've got a top quality player here. Fast, good going forward, strong in the defence. So, really looking forward to a strong season from him. And then, of course, disappointingly in his first game, suffered that ACL injury, missed the season, come back towards the end. And then, as I say, this season, he has just been flying, and boy, has he had to, because we have been losing players left, right and centre. So, like I said, I'd like to see Arteta's opinion on this one, but you'd like to think that he would have liked to have kind of brought him in gradually, built up his fitness, a bit like what you're seeing with Ben White at the moment. But I don't know if he feels that he's just had that luxury and he's kind of just had to put Timber in there. But regardless, he's just kept him in there, whether it be left back, centre back, right back, he's covered all bases. You know, I remember that game against Man City where we were down to 10 men, backs against the wall. I mean, the defending was phenomenal, throwing bodies on the line. And he literally, I mean, he could barely walk off the pitch when he was eventually taken off. But he was only taken off late on. So, yeah, he's been phenomenal for me. Keen to know what you think. But, yeah, for me, Jurrien Timber would be my player of the season. Now, in terms of off-the-pitch news, of course, we saw the launch of the new home kit. God, another kit. You know, what happened to the days when, you know, every 2 seasons a kit would come out, which some would still argue is bad enough, especially the prices they are today. But of course, this season, and we're probably not the only team that does this, but it's literally every season a raft of kits come out, and it does take the piss, you know, out of families. I mean, my kids have got some of the shirts, but I've got 2 young girls, so they're not massively fussed. But I guess, you know, that might be different if they were boys and I'd be having to shell out for these free kits and stuff. It is a joke, you know, and especially when they don't vary that much anyway. Personally, for me, I'm more of a training kit person. I know it sounds stupid, but I feel like you buy a kit, you'll wear it, and then when it's the end of the, you know, when it's next season and the new kit's out, it will just go away in the wardrobe and that's it. You won't ever wear it again. But I seem to feel with training kits, you know, I'm happy to wear them. They just seem to have a longer shelf life. It probably don't make a lot of sense. It just makes sense to me, but that's, you know, that's just me personally. And when I saw the kit come out, I've got to say I wasn't really impressed. You know, when I saw the kit online, you know, as you've probably seen yourself, you know, you get all these kind of in-the-know people bringing out what the kits are going to be well in advance before they come out. So you see various iterations of similar types of kits. None of them end up being the actual thing. So, I mean, I saw similar, don't get me wrong, but I saw better, to be fair. So whether that's why I'm disappointed, because I did see some online of, oh, yes, that's a nice home shirt, nice collar, etc. And when this one came out, I was not massively impressed. And I don't like the detail, to be honest, all the A's in there. And I know it sounds stupid, you can't see it from that far away, but up close, I just think it looks a bit, I don't know, I'm not necessarily a fan of it. But having said that, when I saw it on the weekend, because of course they brought this out before the game on Sunday, probably made a killing in the shop, it looked good, actually. It looked good from afar. So, you know, I haven't got so much of an issue with it. But, I mean, the prices, people, like 85 quid, 60 quid for the kids version. And, of course, you add on a £5 to get the long sleeve version. And that's before you add on, of course, patches, player names, numbers, etc. And let's not even go there with the authentic kit. I mean, what is the fucking point? 130 or something quid it is for that. It's gone up a £5, which in the grand scheme of things, I mean, with this cost of living and, you know, hasn't everything gone up? I mean, that doesn't sound on paper that excessive, but the price in the first place is a joke considering the quality of the shirt as well. But, you know, I'm sure they've made a killing. Loads of people will go out and buy it. The away one, I believe, is dropping in July. And then we expect the third one around sort of August, September time. Now, God knows what the colours will be. I've seen various iterations online. The latest I've seen is blue for the away and white for the third one. And we know the white one is... Sorry, the white one. The third one is always the kind of anomaly, if you like, and the difference. So that could well be the white one. But I've also heard of, like, green ones. So who fucking knows? But I do tend to like, out of all of them, the third ones, because they are the kind of the outliers, if you like, you know, the random colours, and they look more of a training kit, and they never really wear them anyway. So it's just, yeah. I get more pissed off, I have to say, and I don't know about you guys, about the raft of training kits that come out. Like, I like the training kits, don't get me wrong, but then they tend to bring out these, I don't know, collaborations with Stella McCartney or whatever it may be, and they come out throughout the year. It's constant. It's absolutely constant. They must make an absolute fortune. And, it's no wonder it gets the fans back up when we don't spend in January or whatever. You can surely understand where we're coming from when you see this, because the outlay of some of these fans is fucking frightening. So, it's, another kit. So we'll await the away one and the third one and see what it brings us. In terms of the transfers, of course, the news is just hotting up by the week. Constant talk about, the striker situation with Gyokores, Isak and Sesko. Now, I think as most Arsenal fans would probably happy with any of them at this point. You know what I mean? Anything is an improvement on no fucking striker at all. So there is that. My personal preference, as I've made clear before, is Gyokores. I think his numbers are frightening. I think his all-round game is the best. I'm not going to turn my nose up at any of the others, by the way. It will be interesting to see what happens with Isak. Let's say Newcastle don't make it to the Champions League. I don't see that happening, but if it did, then you do wonder. I noticed that Eddie Howe came out recently, didn't he, and sort of said, I can't guarantee that he'll stay, and then made a big deal of it in the press. What's he really meant to say? It's not like he's saying he's going to go. He's just saying he can't guarantee that he'll stay. But, of course he can't, because if somebody came in and offered 200 million, they'd probably be stupid to turn it down. So, of course he can't say that. That doesn't mean they want to sell him, and it doesn't mean they will sell him. So we'll have to see what happens. Sesko talk seems to be kind of hotting up, but it always seems to be the same with this, though. It's like Liverpool are sniffing around. You've got Man United sniffing around for a striker. It always seems that we're always looking for strikers. And, it'd be interesting to see where at least two of those end up, because we know that Gyokores and Sesko are going. They are going to be on the move. And like I said, I just hope that we get Gyokores. Wingers. Nico Williams, I've said my point on this before. I thought he was great when I saw him in the Euros. Of late, when I've seen him, he hasn't done an awful lot, and I haven't been that impressed. So, it'd be interesting to see, because that has seemed to have gone a bit quiet. It's still out there in the press now and again, but it's just not hot news, for want of a better word, right now. It's not constantly in your face, or that it's imminently going to happen. So we'll have to see. And of course, Rodrigo was mentioned as well, the Real Madrid winger. And out of the two, to me, there's a no-brainer. I'd take him all day long. Rodrigo, some of his goals, some of his dribbling, it's frightening. I'd love to see him at the Emirates. He can play left, he can play right, he can play down the middle. Could you imagine him, Gyokores, Saka? Just dream. It would be an absolute dream. But don't get excited, people. That's not going to happen. We are Arsenal Football Club. That's way too much. So let's not get excited about that just yet. Midfield, Zubimendi, we think, is coming in. I say we think because until it's done, like I've said before, I'm not going to believe it. He did this with Liverpool and then just changed his mind at the last minute. So what's to say he's not going to end up somewhere else? So we'll see what happens there. I am just thankful that this Dean Huijsen from Bournemouth has gone to Real Madrid. Thank fuck. Because I swear to you now, I was convinced that the first player coming through our doors would be a left back or a centre back. I'm telling you now, I would not have been surprised. This club's done it all, throughout the last few years. You know what you need. You're desperate for it to happen, and we go and buy a fucking defender. It just happens all the time. The talk about the goalkeeper is frightening as well, because, yes, we know that some of these positions need to be filled. Neto's obviously going to go. He was only on loan anyway. Ridiculous signing that was. But it's a second keeper. Raya is first choice. I don't want this situation that we had with like Ramsdale and him, where it's one in, one out. We don't need this Juan Garcia that I keep hearing about, because we're talking, or at least the rumours are, that it's 20 to 30, 25 million. And you're thinking, why are we wasting our money, of which it's going to be short, on a goalkeeper? You can go out and buy a second string goalkeeper, and it's just an experienced person, experience in the league, experience in age. I'm sure we can pick one up, whether that be on loan or for a minimal amount. from many clubs. Now, I haven't got a name off the top of my head, but I'm damn sure that somebody's out there to cover that. You do want that. You want that experience as opposed to throwing in a youngster. But like I said, I think we could easily go out and do that rather than outlaying £25 million on a goalkeeper that we just do not need. So, I, for one, hope that doesn't happen. It was interesting, actually, just to pick up on the points that Josh Kroenke made in the programme notes on the weekend. So I'll read the quote to you. "We plan to invest to get behind winning and doing better next season." No shit. "We're delighted we have our sporting director, Andrea, who will play an important role in this. He is part of a unified and strong team, supported by the board, who are crystal clear on exactly what we need to do." Well, that's good. "And the way in which we want to do it. The right way, the Arsenal way." That last bit actually worries me, because if the Arsenal ways are the way of the last few fucking seasons, well, we know what's going to happen. They're going to dilly-dally, not offer the right money, not make decisions on who they want, pursue shit players for the whole fucking window, not buy anybody at all. The list goes on. Panic buy a lone player like the likes of a Sterling. So yeah, let's hope this Arsenal way is different to the current Arsenal way under this board and ownership. And that's a wrap, people. Please get in touch. Like I said at the start of this, hop onto my YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel and notify yourself of all the content that's going to come your way. This is one community. This is us, people. We've got a valued opinion. We might not go day in, day out. We might not be season ticket holders. Well, big deal. Does that mean that you and I don't have an opinion, a valid opinion on our football club? No, it doesn't. So please keep it here. Please get in touch. I really want to know your thoughts on any of the content that we've been discussing today. Thanks for joining in, people. I'll see you next time.